all aboard the South Africa versus Ireland hype train. See, it's only Tuesday as I record this. I already cannot wait for this game, so let's let the build-up commence. There's a couple of massive games coming up in round 3 of the Rugby World Cup. None bigger than the world champions against the world #1 team. I will be at that game and covering it for you here on Egg Chasers, so please, if you haven't already, I hope I earn your subscription on this video and then you don't miss any of the content coming during the Rugby World Cup. Hit like and leave your comments on this one as well. Just how hyped up are you for it? How do you think it's going to go? Where do you think the game will be won and lost between these two teams? Will they go at it like it's a knockout game? Because there have been some people that have pointed out that either team can lose and still go on and achieve their ultimate goal. Nonetheless, it is an unbelievable test of where these two sides are at. And given Scotland are in the pool and can still pull a rabbit out of a hat, there's still a lot to play for. Of course, there's Wales v Australia this weekend as well. I'll be at that one in Lyon too. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to covering these games, and hopefully you enjoy what I'm putting out there. I will say, right, so I've just currently stopped in a little town on the Côte d'Azur coast. Oh, there's a breeze. Hopefully this windshield is keeping the wind out. I'm quite glad there's a breeze, otherwise it would be really too hot, to be honest. It's very hot. But I've moved on from Nice and I'm heading back towards Marseille, where I'm going to watch France against Namibia on Thursday night. And so the great thing about travelling in a camper van, and I guess also on your own, is that you can kind of just stop where you feel like. So I just went right on a map. That looks about halfway. Let's go there. So I'm in Fréjus. Lovely little town. I was just looking at some of the yachts in the harbour earlier, and I looked up on Google. And if you're interested, there's one yacht that's there that you can charter for a week for you and maybe a group of friends for only €85,000. So, you know, just have a look down the back of the sofa for that. I will also say that whilst I know how incredibly lucky I am to be here at the Rugby World Cup, it's not lost on me. I'm really enjoying myself. Also, these midweek periods, I will also confess, I really, really miss my family. And you can feel quite alone at this point. So the fact that you're enjoying the channel and getting stuck in is keeping my spirits up when I'm feeling a long way from home. And then the rugby arrives at the weekend and I just get sucked right into that. And that's where I am right now with South Africa against Ireland. For so many reasons. On what we've seen so far in the World Cup, the two best teams, I would venture to say. The world champions versus the world #1. A real interesting matchup of styles, and that seem to cancel each other out a little bit, or kind of match each other brilliantly. And also two brilliant sets of fans. The South Africa fans in Marseille last weekend were amazing. And I know what I'm getting with Ireland fans, they're going to be brilliant as well. So already, I think that possibly the fan reaction video that I'll put out in the aftermath of the game at the weekend could be the best one yet. And if you haven't watched the fan reaction videos in the channel, please do, because I think it captures why rugby's so amazing and what the Rugby World Cup is about. But just onto this early build-up for South Africa versus Ireland. On that question, will this be seen as a bit of a free hit? South Africa have already beaten Scotland, so lose to Ireland and, you know, presuming they get, or assuming they get, or were they to lose but get losing bonus point or points, they're still in a very, very strong position to get to the quarterfinals. I still think Ireland and Scotland will make the quarterfinals. So really, this game could purely come down to deciding who plays who in the quarterfinal. And you'd think that whoever loses is basically set up to play France in the quarterfinals versus New Zealand. I would imagine that if you had to pick, and it's such a hard thing to pick your poison really, you'd probably edge towards wanting to play New Zealand rather than France in their home World Cup, wouldn't you? So maybe there's that on the line at the very least. Two squads with outstanding depth. Players drop out of these teams, other ones step in and do brilliantly well. We've seen that time and again. And yeah, I mean, this game has the potential to take a casualty or two, doesn't it, I guess? Which is one thing we're definitely going to watch. Another question I've got in my mind is, how are South Africa going to manage their bench? I mean, there was some really silly comments. In fact, some from people around the world, but was it that Matt Williams, the Aussie guy, who's I actually quite like his commentary, his commentary on the game, his punditry, his analysis. I actually quite like him, but him talking about the 7-1 split, I didn't get the issue, to be honest. But will they go with the 7-1 split? I suppose they could. But will they go with the 6-2 split with maybe Andre Pollard on the bench? Now, Rassie Erasmus has been saying Andre Pollard will not, or Jacques Nienaber, but I can't remember which one of them said it, but Andre Pollard would not be involved in this game at the weekend against Paris. But I'm not so sure. I think he might make an appearance on the bench. He'll definitely play against Tonga, probably the full 80 minutes, and then be ready for the bench in the quarterfinals. But who knows, he might be involved this weekend. And how will that go? And the next selection question I have for South Africa is Dillyn Leyds, who I imagine will be wearing 12, or Esterhuizen, who I would personally pick at 12. Who will be the wingers? Is it Colby and Arendse again? Probably. Apparently Etzebeth's going to be fit, so that's a massive boost. Fullback though. See, he's been getting a bit of stick, but I'm going to stick up for Willy le Roux. There was that savage moment where Jean de Villiers, in an interview, made the joke about Willy le Roux dropping the ball and Willy le Roux's poor face. But I think this is the kind of game where a player like Willy le Roux is massively important. He does have little wobbles and moments, but he's a big game player, and I might be leaning towards him, but we'll see. Well, I mean, hopefully, I've only got to wait till tomorrow for the South Africa team. Hopefully it's another early announcement. We'll see on that. And moving over to Ireland, they've been building for this moment. They only had the 3 World Cup warm-up games with a bit heavy rotation of their squad. Johnny Sexton's first game was in their World Cup first game. He's played the first 2 now, and they've played progressively tougher teams. Romania dispatched them, Tonga dispatched them, and now here we go, the world champions. I think this one's going to have the intensity of 2 games, 2 of the best games of rugby I've seen in recent years, both involving France, by the way. South Africa versus France last autumn, that was just incredible. And Ireland versus France in the Six Nations this year, which was similarly incredible. And I think this one is going to have that kind of a feel. It's got a quarter-final knockout feel already. It's just the quarter-final before we get to the quarter-finals, and this has a potential final rehearsal written all over it, don't you think? The one thing from Ireland tactically is, what are they going to do about the way South Africa's defence is going to try and shut down Johnny Sexton in the way that they did Finn Russell? I'm sure tactically that's what they've been working on, is how to combat a really fast press defence, which South Africa is surely going to bring again. But that's where Ireland being so cohesive and so tactically smart and having real good rugby brains, Gary Ringrose and Hugo Keenan and Mac Hansen more and more, are becoming like an extra brain out there on the field in Ireland's backline. I think it's going to be fascinating tactically. And on other factors, there's another little interesting subplot. Rassie Erasmus, rumours flying that he was going to Ireland. I love the fact that one came out this week. He's come out and said there's absolutely no truth in the fact he's following Jacques Nienaber to Ireland, but then Rassie Erasmus would say that. We'll wait and see if there's any truth in it at all. Another question, who wears green? Actually, we know the answer to that, don't we? It's South Africa are going to wear their change kit, but not the change kit that they wore against Scotland. They're going to be wearing a third kit, an alternate kit. They're going to be wearing their white kit because they're what was the colour? There's a colour for that. The one that looked like a tube of toothpaste. Their Colgate kit they wore against Scotland. I actually quite like it, to tell the truth. I didn't like it at first, but it's grown on me. But it's called Hyper Jade is the colour shade. I didn't even know that was a shade of colour at all, but there you go. But they're going to be wearing the all-white kit. Ireland are going to be in green. Actually, by the way, that change kit for South Africa is a perfect alternate kit for them, because the kit's a little bit mad, and this team are a little bit mad in the best possible way. They are revolutionising rugby once again. They did it 4 or 5 years ago with the 6-2 split. That was completely new, and now it's a standard thing that teams often go for. But they're revolutionising rugby again. I love this. I wonder, and I think it's an interesting question, will specialist positions go out of fashion a little bit? South Africa are kind of pioneering this, having flankers that can play hooker, having scrum halves that can play on the wing, and vice versa. I think that it gives South Africa so much flexibility, and we've seen that this week because they've been able to bring Andre Pollard back into the squad, and it hasn't felt like a giant risk. It's felt like they're weighing up, okay, well, we could have Joseph Dwebber, his line-out throwing is a little suspect, so we'll just stick with Van Staden and Fourie, and we'll be able to pick ourselves another amazing halfback. So it's really quite smart. And I wonder if it's, again, 4 years' time, I suspect what we'll be looking at is lots of teams approaching the game in the way South Africa are now, just like teams never had a 6-2 split before, and now happens all the time. Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing for this game. I think it's going to be, I hope it's going to live up to the billing. I think South Africa's performance against Scotland was fantastic, but the actual game overall didn't quite live up to the expectation, the very high expectations we had of it, mainly because actually on South Africa's defence was so good, and by 50 minutes the game was basically done. I don't suspect this is going to be the case. This is going to be absolutely massive, and what a game to get our teeth into in round 3. I'm going to get my teeth into an ice cream, I reckon, maybe. I might just lie here for a little bit longer. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. As I say, I really, really appreciate it, and it means a lot. So hit subscribe, hit like, and leave your comments. I'll see you on the next one. Right, signing out.